Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 21st, 2015 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. As many people in the news are referring to as the Back to the Future Day, when in episode 2 of Back to the Future, McFly and Doc come back to October 21st, 2015 at, I think it's 4:21 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So they haven't arrived yet because it's not 4:21 Pacific Standard Time yet, but keep an eye out for any flying DeLoreans today of all days. So this is Eric Cook, and I am with WSI Internet Consulting, where we work with businesses and organizations on helping them better understand and leverage the power of the Internet as a strategic business tool. You can learn more about me and WSI online at www.poweredbywsi.com. My good friend and Free Webinar Wednesday partner, Mr. Jeff Simpkins, is unable to join us today. He's actually off-site at a client meeting and unable to break away, although I will give him some props. I had him join me yesterday on a meeting that I was doing for a bunch of bankers, and did an awesome presentation on branch rejuvenization, if that's even a word, and talked a lot about interactive teller machines, which are these video intelligent ATM machines that a lot of financial institutions are looking at putting into offices for added convenience, security, ease of use, customer service. So it was a really great session, and if any of you on the audience today are bankers and interested in learning more about that, definitely get in touch with me. But it was pretty cool from a consumer convenience perspective, how technology is just making more and more of these traditional banking services even easier for customers to get. So you can learn more about Jeff over at his website, communitybankconsulting.com, and he will be back with us, I believe, next week. Today's show is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge. I'm talking about a few things that I have I guess started playing around with and or want to make you aware of. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter show than normal. Typically Free Webinar Wednesdays goes a full 60 minutes, but I think I'll probably be able to get through what I'm going to want to talk about in probably 30 minutes or less, so we'll be able to get you on with the rest of your day a little bit faster. As a reminder, for those of you that are joining again, or for those of you that are new, Free Webinar Wednesdays is recorded, and archives of the recording are made available out to freewebinarwednesdays.com. So if one of the sites that I pull up piques an interest and you want to go back and revisit some of the stuff that I've said, feel free to go ahead and do that. And also, if you've got comments or questions, or want me to clarify something that I've said, you want to go ahead and use the chat feature, which is located in the probably right-hand corner of your screen in the control pad. You can go ahead, type your message in there, and happy to hear from you as well. It's one of the joys of doing a live show, although it can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. But doing a live show, it's nice to get feedback from folks out there if you've got a question or a comment. So a couple things on Facebook, and then what I want to do is spend the rest of the time talking about the concept of virtual assistants, remote assistants, leveraging kind of the power of the web and external resources to your organization to help you get more done. And I suspect if you're like me, you probably have way too many things to get done, as there are hours in the day. And I've recently started going to the web to outsource some tasks that don't necessarily need my specific involvement, that can be done inexpensively, and allow me to concentrate on some of the bigger things. So we'll talk about some of the popular sites that are out there, give an example to walk through some things, and maybe there'll be ones that'll save you some time to get some stuff done and be a little bit more productive. During our meeting yesterday, there was a couple of comments from some of the marketers that were in the room that are still under the impression that Facebook is going to release a dislike button. and I know you can't read everything that you read on Facebook and take it for the truth. And I know that there have been some posts that have gone around. I've seen them on my Facebook feed talking about Facebook releasing a dislike button or a thumbs down button. At this point in time, it does not appear that that is going to be the case. But in case you haven't heard what they are planning on doing, and this is in limited release now, Facebook has rolled this out in their Ireland as well as in their Spain markets, so it's being tested, is they've actually decided to do a reactions button instead of the dislike. And the reason for that, I'm sure you maybe have experienced this as well, but you go into Facebook and maybe somebody posts that their grandmother passed away or their dog died, you know, something that you don't necessarily feel real comfortable hitting the like button and giving them a thumbs up, because it's sad when somebody dies or a dog passes away or a pet, you know. So the like button really doesn't have a place on that. But what they have done is they're putting out, and this is kind of the evolution of the emoji society, where now we've got all these images that are representative of what it is that we're feeling. But they're releasing reactions buttons, which provide you with a more expressive way of sharing your thoughts or your feelings on a particular post. So those of you that are managing your pages for business, don't worry, there's not going to be an opportunity for upset customers to go and dislike your page or give you a thumbs down. But now, assuming that this pilot from Ireland and Spain passes, and if there's any changes, they're certainly looking for feedback. What's going to happen is you're going to have a love, a laugh, a smile, a surprise, a sad, and an angry button. And those are going to be ones that you'll be able to use. Here's an article off of ITV that actually, excuse me, has a short little video that you can watch that kind of gives an explanation as to why those are going to be made available. So you may not necessarily want to like something, but you still want to show your support or your empathy or your surprise in it, and these are going to give you a few different ways to be able to share that. I have read that some of the diehard Facebook users aren't real excited about this, because while the thumbs up certainly has become a Facebook icon and is what Facebook has come to have been known for, the rest of these are just kind of generic emojis that they're emojis that everybody can use, and you know, it takes away, from what some people have said, takes away some of the elements of Facebook itself. I personally think that it's a good move. I'm glad to see, and I didn't think that they would implement a dislike button, but it's good to see that there's some different emotions, and you always try to explain yourself when you click like, and I think people realize that, you know, if my grandma dies and you click like, that doesn't mean that you are happy that she's dead and you didn't like my grandmother. It just means that you're showing support. But this is going to be a little bit more comfortable way of doing that. The other thing that recently broke, and I heard it actually on the news yesterday morning, is Facebook is reinforcing or re-recommending that you turn on log-on authentication within your Facebook account, and they are going to start more proactively monitoring, and they didn't release the algorithm associated with it, but they are going to start more proactively monitoring Facebook accounts that show signs of potential compromise or a potential compromise attempt from a state-sponsored terrorist attack. Now, I don't know how they're doing this, if they're doing it based off of IP addresses or known hacking strategies or whatever their official methodology is. But in case you haven't gone in and looked at your privacy settings on Facebook, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. I've got my Facebook account pulled up here so you can take a look at it. You can always go into the privacy checkup element, and that will give you the ability to see what your posts, your apps, and your profile are. And this is a good high level. You'll notice I have chosen to make my posts public. I don't have a Facebook page. As a business owner, I kind of want to build the brand of Eric, so all the posts that I share are public. I can change that on a post-by-post basis if I want to restrict access. But by default, if you go out to facebook.com/ eCook, you'll find my Facebook page, and anything that I'm posting, you're going to be able to see. That doesn't mean that anything that somebody else posts that I have an opportunity to see is also going to show, because those are always going to be controlled by the individual privacy settings as they relate to the other users and friends that I have. But that's where you can see what your settings are, and you can click on the next step. This is a really good reminder of all of the apps, and you probably have done this maybe even somewhat unconsciously. As you're getting access to a new program, a new service, the service says, hey, would you like to connect Facebook? You say, sure, why not? And you go ahead and you click yes, and there are settings involved that the app has as to who it can communicate with and who can see. So it's a good idea for you to go through and just kind of see, are there any of these on here that you're not using anymore? Do you want to delete them and disconnect them? And then lastly, goes through and it kind of reveals who has access to your profile information. So while my posts are public, my friends, of course, anybody that's watching this webinar will now have access to it, but I'm fine with that. Will have access to information, and they can see kind of when you were born. If you want to hide the year and the date, you can certainly go ahead and do that. The other option, as you get a little bit further into it, you can click more about privacy, and this gives you additional information directly from Facebook, talking a little bit more in detail about their privacy options. We can go ahead and close this. What you can also do is go down into your options here, and you can click on settings. And this is where you're going to go into your security settings. And this is an important element, because if you are an administrator on your business's Facebook page, for example, the last thing that you want is for somebody to compromise your Facebook account, get access to it. Because what they're first going to do is they're going to, excuse me, they're going to see whether there's any personal information in there that they can use to potentially, start an identity theft effort. But what they're also going to do is they're going to see whether you're the administrator on any pages. And if you are, they're going to look and see what pages those are. And again, I work a lot in the banking space, and so does Jeff. So obviously, if I'm the admin on banking pages that we help them with their social media and their Facebook efforts, I certainly don't want somebody to compromise my account and then hop on a bank Facebook page and start stealing identity of their customers and posting bogus links that says, you need to reset your password, or as bank security, we're requesting everybody to update their profile settings, and start funneling people off into who knows where on the internet. So what you can do, a couple of different, and I suggest actually turning all of these on. And this is a good reminder, especially given the fact that Facebook is now paying a little bit closer attention to this and will send proactive notifications. But you can turn on a login alert anytime somebody accesses your account from a new browser or a new device. And most of the time, hopefully all of the time, you get one of those alerts. It's going to be you doing that. You can take the security up another notch with a login approval, where you can use your phone as an extra layer, and it'll serve as a almost like a token. And then the code generator is the device that you will, or the service that you'll use, that will actually produce the 6-digit code. So not only will Facebook say, hey, you haven't logged in on this before, I need to double check and make sure that it's really you. You'll have to go to your phone or some other place where you've got access to the code generator and be able to put in a number so that Facebook knows that it really is you. So unless somebody has stolen your user ID, stolen your password, and also then has access to your mobile device, it's not going to be possible for them to get in. And of course, if you have not signed on to a new computer, if you have not tried to access from a different location, and you get a code generator request or a login approval request, and it's not you, somebody's trying to get in, it's a good idea to hop out into Facebook, change your password immediately, and make sure that you're protected. So there's a little Facebook public service announcement for you. It's always a good idea to take a look at privacy settings just to make sure that everything is all buttoned up and nice and secure. The next element, and I guess probably the big one that I wanted to talk about, is the concept of crowdsourcing or virtual assistants, whatever you want to call it. But if you're not familiar with the concept, the internet has obviously connected everybody in the world with one another very, very easily. And as such, there are people in other regions of the country and or the world that may have some extra time on their hands. They want to do freelancing. Maybe they don't have employment opportunities in their own community, so they're going online looking for job opportunities. And so there are these sites out here, and Fiverr is one that I've actually pulled up. We'll go through a few of them, where you have a community of people that are willing to do things, and you have a community of people that want to have things done. And Fiverr, as the name implies, has a $5, typically things are done for $5. If you get into a project and you find out that it's a little bit more involved, somebody may come back and say, I might be able to do that for $10 or for $15. But there's a lot of jobs that you can actually have done for $5. So I'm going to share an example of a recent project that I did that may resonate with you. Maybe you have something similar that you would like to have done. And certainly this is not the only way that you can use the service, because there's a tremendous amount of other opportunities here. But I returned from a conference and I got a list of the organizations that were at the conference. I got a list of what cities they were in, but I didn't get anything else. And I wanted to do a little bit deeper research, and I wanted to get their website address. I wanted to determine whether or not the website was mobile responsive. I wanted to see if they were involved in social media. So the project really was a time-consuming project, and it needed somebody to go online. It wasn't difficult, but do a search for the business, make sure that it's the business that's in that particular town, and then go through and then look at the website, test it against the Google mobile testing tool to see if it's mobile responsive, and then look on the website to see if it's linking to Facebook or to Twitter or to LinkedIn. And if it is, capture how many fans or followers or connections they have, just so that I can get a clear picture. And I had probably maybe 220 or so of these businesses that were part of this event, and so I wanted to be able to get this done. And if I had done it, it would have taken me several hours. I went and I used Fiverr, but you'll see that there's other on here. And I essentially started with a search for data entry, Excel-based data entry. And while it was a little bit more involved in that, that's really how I started. So you can see I have an account at Fiverr, so it recognizes me. You can see there it says, "Hi, Eric," and it recommends data entry, Excel. It knows that I've done these things before. So once you start using the service, it's going to kind of pay attention to some of the things that you've done. One of the things that I also did, and again, it's data entry, it's Excel-based. One of the things that I did, because I wanted to make sure that whoever I chose or whoever was interested in bidding on the project had a clear understanding of what I expected. I set up the Excel sheet myself, so I had the columns and the data fields labeled the way that I wanted them. And then what I also did is I went and I did the very first one and made sure that it was clear as to how I went through the process. And I even went so far as to capture a Jing video. I've talked about Jing before. It's a company, it's a service actually provided by a company called TechSmith. And Jing Project is the name of the site where you can go to it. Let me just pull that up here for you real quick. So if I spelled it right, that would be even better, wouldn't it? JingProject.com. And so what Jing does is it gives you the ability to capture screenshots, capture up to 5 minutes worth of video. And if you combine that with their screencast hosting service, which they give you a little bit of storage space for free, you can share those videos up to screencast, and it gives you a shortened link that you can then send to other people so they can actually watch a video. The reason that that's important is I wanted to make sure that I also had an opportunity to describe what it was that I wanted the individual to do for me. So I did the Excel, and I was going through the Excel. I actually ran a Jing video with audio that said, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to capture this. You're going to do this. Because some of the people that are working on these projects may be from different countries, might have slight language barrier issues, you know, and not to say that they're not intelligent, but you wanted to make sure that it's just very clear and conspicuous on what you want. And sometimes instructions can be a little ambiguous if you just type things out. So I wanted to make sure my bases were covered, and that worked really well because the person that ended up getting the job not only sent me back her bid and said, this is what I think I can do it for, but she went through and actually did the second one for me and sent that back and said, you know, I did the second one, double check, make sure that's cool. So I checked her work and everything worked out great. So when you go to these sites, you're going to find they'll have different categories that you can go in and you can browse. So when you want to go back to these, you can kind of get an idea of all the different things that they'll may be able to do for you. But you can go in here as well, and I just went in and I typed in Excel data entry. Data entry. Oh, fingers aren't working. So I went in and did Excel data entry, and then this brought up a bunch of different ones. There's reviews and ratings you can go through. You can, you know, kind of click on a data entry and charts in Excel. You can see they've done 3 projects, 3 buyer reviews, 5 stars. Gives you a little bit more information about where they're located, what languages they speak, if there's any referrals or recommendations. And then you also have options. So while you can do basic, you know, data entry, if you want it done extra fast, a lot of the platforms that I'll show you have an expedited or a priority option that you can go ahead and set. And so that kind of gives you some options there, and then you can decide that you want to just go ahead and do an order. Fiverr also, and I think all the other ones do as well, Fiverr also has a nice app that you can use on iPhone or Android. So as communication is going back and forth between you and the person that you ultimately select, gives you an opportunity to communicate back and forth. So when I'm away from the computer, I get messages. It's almost like a private chat function. I did notice, and I suspect this is the way that it is with the other platforms as well, during the chat process, if I mention anything about payment, because I did have some problems with the Fiverr system, nothing against the person that I selected, they had problems processing a credit card. I ended up having to go to PayPal and have PayPal be the originator of the actual payment to get her taken care of. But when I was typing in the messages about payments, it came up and said, you know, terms of service prohibit you from making payment arrangements outside of the network or contacting the person. So you're not really allowed to say, hey, what's your Skype handle? And I'll just kind of hire you outside. Once you're in the system, they really want you using the system, obviously, because that's how they make their money. And it's an ecosystem of providers. So if you know, and I wasn't doing that, but if you start typing anything in that gives the platform an inclination that you're going to try to, you know, skirt around the system, it'll put a kibosh on that. A couple of other ones that I found as I was looking around. There's this other one called Upwork, which again, freelancers, virtual assistants, whatever you want to call it. So if we go in here, we can do Excel data entry, and we'll just do a search. It also has a browse function, so you can go in and browse. But now you can go in, and I can do Excel data entry. You know, this is organized a little differently. This is what they charge on an hourly basis. So in this instance, you know, it may be even more important for you to have a very clear and thought out project plan as to what it is that you want to make sure the person does. You can see they've got, you know, their expertise kind of nailed down here with tags. So this gives you an idea, kind of shows you how many hours they've logged in the system. So you get an idea of what their level of expertise is, and then their success rate. So just a little different. You can post a job. Does not cost anything as the poster. There is a slight processing fee. I know Fiverr, I think it was like 75 cents. The project that I did ended up costing $15, and then there was a 75-cent processing fee on top of that. But it wasn't something that was outrageous. And the person spent probably a day and a half maybe 3 days in total after the back and forth, and got the project back, and it was something that I didn't have to do. It was only 15 bucks, and it saved my sanity, so that was great. Another one here called Freelancer. You can check this one out as well. So you can go in and click on highlight to hire somebody. This is a little bit more tab-based. So if I want to go in and look for data entry, I can do data entry, and really I just want somebody to fill in a spreadsheet with some data, and I can go ahead and I can post a project now. This didn't look like I had a lot of options as far as finding people. I think this is a little bit more, I post a project, give it a description, I can identify some other skills here. So maybe if I wanted the data calculated, or I wanted some charts or some analysis done as far as percentage of websites that had Facebook versus non, you could put that in there. All the sites that I've looked at so far have got the ability to upload a sample file. If you're using the screencast service in combination with a Jing account, you can actually paste the screencast hyperlink directly in your project, and they can click on that and review it instead of sending them a video file, which makes it really nice. Language preferences, prices, so you can see Freelancer is a little bit more expensive. By default, they go with a very small project, but you know, if it's a micro, little small project as well. So it really just depends on the complexity of what you're looking for. Two other ones that I've also found, Guru. So again, we'll do Excel data entry, do a search and see. So Word or Excel data entry. So you can see a variety of folks here, $10 an hour, and then if I wanted to, I could go ahead, click on get a quote, and I suspect at this point, yep, it's going to either require me to sign in, or I can register for an account, and then at that point you'll be able to provide the details of what it is that you're looking for, and send that along. And then yeah, so that was the last one that I looked at. I also found this article over at the freelance hiring sites, and this had a nice little breakdown of at least 3 of the 4. This didn't get into Guru, but it did look at some of the excuse me, it did look at some of these. Now Elance wasn't one that I pulled up here, but just kind of give you some ideas on the different platforms and what's there. So so the next time you have a little side project that you need to get done and you're kind of dreading it and it's not getting completed, if it's something that you can throw, you know, 10 or 15 bucks at and have somebody else do it, it's going to take you a little bit of time to organize it and to make sure that it's clear of what you want accomplished. But if it's a task that you're not overly concerned about privacy, I would probably suggest sending customer data or that sorts of stuff. But if it's things that you've got that you're looking for and need just a little assistance around the office, this is a great little services that you can use. You can take a look and you can see business copywriting and creative. You can get videos, music and audio. You know, there's kind of a running joke as I saw some of these. There are people that, you know, I'll sing you a Halloween song for $5, or I'll write a jingle with your name in it for $5. So there are some pretty funny Fiverr, you know, posts that you can go out and kind of take a look at to, you know, make an opening tune for a podcast or a web series for $5. So just things that aren't maybe overly difficult to do, but you may not have the technical skills or the time to get it done. And the people that are in these types of marketplaces are really good at this. They can bang it out really quickly, and you know, it's a great way to make a little extra money on the side and help some people out, which is kind of cool. So so those are the things that I just wanted to share with you today, and you know, at least make you aware of. I don't know if anybody listening live has ever participated in kind of a freelance type crowdsourced you know, virtual assistant effort before, but it's one that I've used in the past, and it's one that I'm going to continue to use and can kind of take a little bit of the headache off. So with that, we've got our abbreviated version of Free Webinar Wednesdays for today. Maybe with the extra time, you can get started on watching that Back to the Future trilogy. I know I was listening to the news, and there's a bar up in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area that I think starting at, let's say, 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, they're actually playing all 3 of the Back to the Future movies. So we didn't get hoverboards, we didn't get the self-lacing Nike shoes, but there are some things in that movie that did come to fruition. So I'm sure if you're watching the local news at any point today or this evening, you'll see plenty of breakdowns of what actually did happen and what we're still waiting for. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap today's show. I appreciate everybody joining me today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday and every Wednesday right back here at freewebinarwednesdays.com. Until then, have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.